So this isn't actually my most recent clear. I actually did this clear before I did my other video I uploaded of my Nightmare, the last stage clear on Nightmare mode. But I'm more proud of this one because this is on Maniac, which is pretty much the normal difficulty of this game, but it's on counter mode, which is suicide bullets, and this is the entire game. So it's more of an accomplishment than one stage, I think, and this is also the first time I've ever cleared a shmup with suicide bullets. So this was my first attempt at it, at this mode and with the suicide bullets on, so I learned pretty quickly that the idea with this is to kill enemies strategically instead of just, you know, shoot everything like you would in a normal shmup or just a normal game mode. But yeah, those blue diamond things are the suicide bullets. So every time you kill an enemy, you'll get a couple of those. Bosses are like the main exception to that. So playing on this mode, almost playing with the counter mode on, which is just an option that you can turn on. It basically just makes the game harder, but you don't really get suicide bullets from bosses or boss phases. You do get, like, at the end, once you actually kill the boss, you get them. And then if there's any, like, those there are just from the sort of the minions that the boss has with her. So if you don't actually kill them yourself, I mean, if you kill them yourself, they'll also have suicide bullets. But so the bosses are kind of the easy mode, or not the easy mode, like the easy part of this type of, you know, playing on the counter mode with suicide bullets, and the stages are the boss, if that makes sense, because as you can see here, you know, the more enemies that there start to be, and this is only the second stage of the game, so it gets pretty hairy near the end. But yeah, another reason I like this replay and I wanted to upload it is because for me, when I rewatch this, I can see myself learning kind of how to play with this mode, with the suicide bullets and everything. And you'll notice me, you know, later on just opting not to even shoot some enemies and just kind of let them go off the screen, or only shoot some of them and then just dodge, you know, the patterns, because again, this being on Maniac mode or normal, in most games, this would be the default difficulty, so the patterns are, you know, much easier than the higher difficulty modes, obviously. So if you just don't shoot and you just dodge, that's also a viable strategy. I don't think you could probably do the whole game without shooting. Well, you probably could. I just think I couldn't. But yeah, it's not really gotten too crazy yet, to where, you know, you can kind of see me waiting to kill those enemies right there. You know, knowing that they're gonna cause that big slew of bullets that happen, like, right there. There's also kind of a slight delay between killing an enemy and when the suicide bullets will sort of be aimed at you, so you can misdirect them as well, which is another sort of skill that I just picked up through playing this. When I first picked this difficulty, when I unlocked, so this is basically like right after I unlocked the ability to use this counter mode, and I don't remember what it was that did it. Maybe I think it was maybe clearing the game on expert or just once you seeing normal mode or something like that. But I just went into this mode and I was like, let's just see what this is, you know, because I've never played. Uh, because most shmups they only have suicide bullets on like a second loop, so you have to beat the game once and then the game repeats, and then every time you kill an enemy on your second loop, they have the suicide bullets. There's probably some games that just have them enabled by default, but what I like about this game, like Dreamer in specific, is that once you unlock this mode, you can just use it whenever you want. So you don't have to beat the game once. You don't have to beat the game 2 times, you know, in order to get a clear with suicide bullets. So it's really cool that you can just select it. You know, you can play individual stages. You can play, you know, bosses or whatever, different sections of stages, and this game has a really good practice mode. But I don't think I would be able to do this on like expert. Definitely wouldn't be able to do it on Nightmare. I still have yet to clear this game, the whole game on Nightmare mode, and I don't know if I ever will, to be honest. I think I've kind of hit my ceiling when I get to expert. Um, so I'm proud enough to have, you know, an expert clear, and even beating the Nightmare mode, each individual stage, which you have to do in order to be able to play the final stage, like my other video that I uploaded of just that stage on Nightmare. But yeah, here is when I kind of started to think to myself that maybe it's not a good idea to just destroy everything as soon as it comes on screen, or at least attempt to misdirect it. Because playing any shmup with suicide bullets is a completely different game. Because you're so used to just holding on the fire button constantly and just, you know, destroying everything that comes on screen, which is why, you know, this genre is so beloved, because it's so, you know, kind of mindless when it comes to that. But of course there's a lot of depth when it comes to strategy and movement and all that kind of stuff. But playing on these suicide bullets modes or loops or what have you of different games, you kind of have to learn restraint. And again, I'm sure it's possible to just play this as normal and still dodge everything if you're you know, good enough, but you can see me kind of starting to take breaks in between shooting instead of just holding down the shot the whole time, and try to get enemies in a decent position so when their suicide bullets come out, they're not gonna, you know, corner me or wall me in or something like that. I haven't really done a commentary for this game at all for my other, just my last stage clear, but I definitely want to say to pay attention to the music anytime I'm not talking, or if you can hear it in the background well enough. I love this game's soundtrack, and I was surprised to learn that the whole thing is royalty-free music, so that's pretty crazy. But yeah, when I was really into like playing this game every day, you know, for an hour or two a day or whatever, when I first got it, I had the soundtrack, the different certain stages of course stick out more than others, but in general just had the soundtrack stuck in my head. And every now and then, you know, almost 2 months after this, I still remember some songs from this game. So this boss is normally not really that bad, being the stage... Is this... I think this is stage 4. Actually, I think this clears actually every stage. So I believe that that was stage 3, and this is stage 4. And there's 8 stages altogether. There's actually, well, there's 9 if you can manage to get through the 8 stages, only getting hit a certain number of times. And it depends on the character and the equipment, more or less, that you have. I mean, you can change your shot type, and you can change your bomb type, and your style, and that kind of stuff, but it's not like a, you know, upgrade system or something like that. But depending on what you choose for those, it determines how many times you can get hit before the end of stage 8. I think it's actually before the boss of stage 8 is when the hit counter sort of is finally determined whether or not you get the stage 9. And I've only cleared stage 9, I think, on normal, definitely not with this counter mode. I've only cleared it, or cleared a run with that once. And stage 9 is pretty crazy. And the TLB, or the true last boss, true final boss, is, yeah, it's pretty insane, even on normal difficulty. So I can only imagine on the higher ones. And, you know, doing the whole game with this on, and being able to only get hit a certain number of times in order to have the ability to fight, or even do the last stage. So it probably seems like I'm doing pretty well here. I'm pretty sure once we get to the, you know, these final 4 stages, it gets a lot more dicier, but you can definitely see that there's way more suicide bullets coming out of things now, and the screen gets filled up really fast if you just play this traditionally and not strategically. So I had a lot of fun with this clear when I was playing this. You know, it makes you feel really skilled. It made me feel really skilled anyways for being able to clear it with the suicide bullets, because like I said at the start, I've never cleared any shmup with suicide bullets, because I have never cleared like a two loop game in order to earn them. Not every game has them, but a lot of traditional arcade shmups have it. So any individual part that you kill of a boss, like you can see this thing has like 6 or 7 health bars or whatever for the different parts, those have suicide bullets when you kill them. So you do have to manage your damage to where once you actually destroy them, you're not going to be in a position where you can't dodge those suicide bullets. See, they come out pretty quickly, so if you're, you know, trying to point blank these things to get rid of them quickly or something, like, you're ultimately going to hurt yourself by doing that. So this phase of this boss is all about destroying these things so you can actually hit kind of the core of it to do real damage. And if you're not, you're just basically wasting time killing these little tentacle things. But anytime you're just fighting the boss, you just get a little bit of suicide bullets at the end of the phase. But you pretty much just have to deal with the patterns like you normally would during the phase before you end it. So that's why I say I think bosses are kind of the easy part of this mode. At least on this difficulty. Obviously I can't speak for expert. I think I'm going to try to do expert just to see, you know, how far I can get. Expert with the suicide bullets, I mean. So this is stage 5. The enemy density really starts to ramp up here. I am probably going to lose a life in this stage. I'm just predicting. I haven't watched this replay in a while, but I know I don't just like never die for this whole clear. So in the bottom right you can see I have 5 hearts, those are my lives, and the little blue stars under it are my bombs. I mostly am using my bombs for auto bombs if I do get hit, so as long as I have those stars I'll be able to tank a hit. And the more you graze bullets, the more you do damage, you build up that, it's called the mental level, which is more or less your bomb gauge. So as long as I'm surviving long enough to graze bullets and do enough damage, I'm gaining those mental levels and earning stars, and that enables me to tank those hits with the auto bombs. So that's ideally what I want to do. Obviously on paper it sounds simple, and in practice it's not always, but so that sound right there was me getting another mental level. So now I have 3 stars, 3 abilities to use an auto bomb or just use a regular bomb. But I'm not sure if I do that, if I do actually use bombs, because I know how valuable the auto bombs are. It's hard to notice in some of the more denser patterns, but if you're killing like, popcorn enemies while you're dodging these, you can see the little stars sort of mixed in there, and you can see how, even though it might be 1 or 2 or 3, little suicide bullets from one of those enemies, it still can be pretty problematic if you're not planning on it or knowing, where it's gonna hit and where you have to dodge it. So the whole, again, like I said before, this whole playthrough is a learning session for me about suicide bullets and how to control them and everything like that. I haven't said anything about that fever notification that just came up. That's my hyper or special, that flashing rainbow gauge. just really amps up the power of my shots, and it will also cancel some bullets and turn them into score. So it's a good kind of get out of jail free card. If you're scoring and you know what you're doing, you're using that a lot more. But since I'm doing this for the first time, I wanna save it. So this phase is pretty easy on without suicide bullets, but with them it can get pretty crowded pretty quickly. So that was my hyper. To kind of try to quick kill the boss. Here we are at stage 6. I love the contrast of the music in the stage. It's all kind of like peaceful and chill, relaxing, and just the amount of bullets on the screen, from especially with the suicide bullets, the furthest thing from chill. The enemies are these cute little, sunflowers and bunnies and stuff, and you're just being accosted every second of the stage with all these bullets. If I were to take a first death somewhere, I'm going to guess it's probably in this level. I'm honestly not sure if I have died yet in the run. I've gotten hit plenty of times, but I've always had a bomb available. That's maybe one of the first times I've actually used a bomb offensively instead of waiting for the auto bomb. It's really the better thing to do than just wait to use an auto bomb, but it also requires timing the bomb, right before you get hit. That's kind of a universal skill in all shmups, is being able to. They call it death. Yeah, there you go. That's the first time I died. I'm pretty sure. But they call it death bombing, and most games give you like a frame or two or several frames or whatever upon getting hit to hit the bomb button and sort of save yourself and activate the bomb. So, it's a game of knowing when you're going to get hit because you've improperly positioned yourself, more so than it is, oh, if I just get hit, I can just hit the bomb button and I'll be fine. Under the hearts that I have, my lives, the 4 lives I have right now, in the bottom right under that, there's this thing that says next extend, and it has a value there, which is 600 million. Above the life meter, sort of right underneath where it says Maniac, has best, which is my best score of the whole game on this mode. The like score underneath that is basically my stage score. So I'm approaching 550 million. Once I get to 600 million, I will get another life. So that'll probably happen pretty soon, unless I get hit again. Oh no, I'm right at the boss. So. I'm not sure if I can reach the extend threshold during the boss, but we'll see. So these things are an exception, I guess, where they don't actually have suicide bullets when you destroy these little parts. That might be one of the only times in the game that's the case. Unless it's considered to be part of the boss. Oh, I guess I did get another life there, so now I'm back up to 5 lives. Still have 2 stages to go though, so... It's no walk in the park from here on out or anything. Also, the higher up in stages you go, the more phases a boss has. I really like this pattern. Now, I did say earlier that this was my first attempt at this. It's not my first attempt at the game itself, it's just my first attempt at playing with suicide bullets. So I do already know these patterns pretty well from playing the game. So I just wanted to point that out. I'm not trying to say this is my first attempt at this game ever on this mode or something. So I do kind of know how these phases work, because I've already played them several times. Almost got through that without getting hit at all. So this stage, stage 7, has my favorite music. So they're actually offensive bomb use. I also just want to say I should have said this earlier. I really love this game. It has so much content to it, a lot of depth. It's got a really good game flow, you know, with the gameplay and the music and the systems that are there. You know, it gives you a lot of resources, but at the same time it can take them away really quickly if you're not constantly, you know, on your guard, especially on the higher difficulties. So even though it gives you a lot of resources, and some would say probably more than most shmups would, you still have to strategically use them in order to survive. But yeah, at the time of recording this, I've played this game for 25 hours, so I put quite a bit of time into it, and it's definitely not the last time I'm gonna play it. There's a stage extend, so that wasn't score related. It's just if you do kill that part. There's certain those are in most shmups too. You know, there's certain enemies or certain requirements you have to meet, and you'll get an extend for it. There's a really important one of those in the last stage as well. There might be more than one, but I don't always get both of them. I think there's one main one that I'm pretty sure I always get. This is also a really cool boss. It's the first time you're fighting two bosses at once, and it's this kind of like concert stage setup, and their speakers are shooting bullets at you, which is funny. This game's plot is ridiculous, by the way. The name Like Dreamer is literally talking about likes on social media, and you're basically fighting other influencers to try to be more popular than them. So it's very relatable to our current time for sure. But that's why the score is called Like, and buzz is, you know, your popularity. That's your meter determining your special and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I really like this boss. It lets you defeat both of them and think that you're kind of done. Like right now you're only fighting one of them, so you're like, oh, I killed the other one, so now I just gotta get rid of this one, and then under the health bar at the top, the hearts underneath the health bar are the number of phases left. So it's another phase with this same, I think they're twins. I can't think of what. I guess it's just 3 more phases of just this boss. And then here in the end, it's like, nope, both of them are back. Which is a good place to use your hyper. To try to get through this phase as quickly as possible, because it can get pretty dicey with all this stuff on screen. Not too terrible on Maniac or normal, but on the higher difficulties, it's pretty crazy. So this is the quote-unquote final stage if you don't meet the requirements for the 9th stage, which I definitely don't. I think probably by stage 2 I probably had lost those. I think you can get hit 6 times or something like that in order to do unlock the stage 9, which I have done on Maniac without the counter mode, but definitely not on this mode. We'll say at the time of playing this, aside from having obviously played this stage without suicide bullets before, I didn't know this stage as well as I ended up knowing it after getting the clear on Nightmare difficulty. Or the clear for this stage. I mean, I still haven't cleared the whole game on Nightmare. Like I said earlier, I doubt that I probably ever will. It's just not a challenge that I really want to do. And there's so many other variations of things that you can do in this game and not rip your hair out over it. Some of these patterns too, they almost lead you in the way that you're supposed to dodge, which is pretty cool. that was my second death of the run. Yeah, another death, like, not even 20 seconds after the first. So, coming into this last stage real confident with 6 lives, and then already lost a quarter of the lives that I have gotten over the course of this whole run. This is where I kind of started to learn that maybe I should not shoot everything. Or at least definitely time things before I kill them, make sure I'm in the right spot. A big thing with this game is knowing which enemies will cancel bullets as well. So you can really hyper focus on the health of that enemy while you're dodging patterns or looking for windows of, you know, places where you can dodge, and just waiting for that moment where you kill that enemy and then just clear everything. These dragon enemies are really cool. This last stage kind of mixes in enemy types of all the different levels, but another thing I really like about this game is that each stage kind of has its own themed enemies, so you're not just fighting the same enemies for the whole game, or just stronger versions of them. So here we're at the final boss. This part is definitely something you don't really want to shoot at, because the screen will just get way too cluttered with stuff if you destroy all those little popcorn enemies. But yeah, not much more to say, really, that I haven't already said. So, hope you enjoy the rest of the run.